Live from the Big G's Pizza Studio on Clark Street, this is 5 Songs with Friends, Chicago's music discovery podcast. Blankxeros is an independent, experimental, industrial artist from Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Blank here himself. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I am amazing, dude. I really appreciate you getting up early. I know it's you're in the future right now, which is pretty cool, being in Australia. So what's it like?
Yeah. Not much has changed.
Unfortunately. Well, it could be a good or a bad thing. It really depends, I guess, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Fair enough. All right. Well, so tell me a little bit about this music, man. When did you start making music under this moniker? And, just give me a little bit of background about this.
Well, originally I started making music. This project has changed names multiple times, but I started making music for this around 2015. It was under the name The Filth I Am, and it was more a band. I wrote an entire EP of songs that I just ended up not being happy with, and I ended up scrapping it and decided that I felt too constricted under a band name and under the construct of a band, so I decided to change the name to Blankxeros. And from there on, I felt more free as an artist, like I could do whatever I wanted, really.
Interesting. Was it just the fact that you were, collaborating with other musicians that you felt restricted, or what was restrictive about it?
Well, I was always writing all the music myself, but I was constantly dependent on looking for other band members. And at that point, I was just kind of like, well, I have to write to the abilities of what I think other people can play. And then I just kind of was like, well, this isn't really the music I want to be making. This is just what I think other people would like. Because I was originally making music that's a lot closer to hardcore, that's a lot heavier. And I was just like, I want to make music that's more like what I'm actually listening to now, not what I was listening to when I was 16.
Yeah, interesting. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
Oh, no, I didn't have anything to say.
Nice. Well, so what I guess what are the inputs that influence the output that is Blankxeros?
Well, just basically, I've always listened to the kind of music that I'm making now, but it was always mentally kind of guilty pleasure music. So I started listening to a lot of artists, a lot more like 9 Inch Nails and Depeche Mode, and basically from that, I just wanted to make stuff that involved all my influences more than just the kind of rock side of it all.
Nice. Okay. I can get on board with that. Very cool. So are you a self-taught musician, or how did you, because there's obviously a lot going on in your music, how did you learn to, make songs like this, and the technology and the instruments and stuff like that behind it?
Well, I'm self-taught. I first started on guitar when I was around maybe 11 or 12 years old. And then from there on, I just used to view myself as a guitarist for the first 6 years that I played an instrument. And then I really got into wanting to start a band. So I was like, okay, need to get better at guitar, but I couldn't find any band members in the area that I live in. So I started teaching myself how to write drums, program drums, how to record music, and how to do vocals as well. So really it all just came from me not having people who were committed enough to start a band.
Yeah.
And now it's led to making this.
Yeah, that's a beautiful part about the world we live in today, dude. If you're motivated enough and, creative enough, you can, run your own show, from your computer anywhere, which is make awesome music, which is a pretty cool place to be in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it. It gives so much more talented and creative people a chance to have an output.
Yeah.
Whereas it just used to be years and years ago, to be able to be heard, you had to manage to sign a record deal or something like that. Now you can just make a song and have it online for thousands of people to hear in like minutes. So it's really cool.
Yeah, what a crazy world we live in, I tell you what. But when you play live and stuff, is it just you up there? Do you have a backing? Do you have anyone that kind of like helps you run the show, or is you just completely solo?
I still haven't played live, but I do plan on doing that in the future. But I want to have like a backing band with me as well, because I think it would make it just a lot more interesting than just watching one guy up there with a backing track.
Mm-hmm.
But live, I plan to have it kind of. I won't just do vocals live, obviously. Like I want to get in a bit of guitar as well, and obviously the synth kind of stuff. But I'm very interested in doing live stuff at some point in the future.
Awesome. I love it. Well, we've got a great song here today called Down the Rabbit Hole. This one is it's a lot of things, aggressive, just a total banger, among other things. So
Thank you.
yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of this, man. This song, and it's a song that the more I listen to it, the more it grabs me. So can you tell me a little bit more about it?
Okay, so Down the Rabbit Hole started as a demo around September last year. I wanted to make a song that was like a lot more dancier than the stuff I'd already done. And I was really heavily listening to like a lot of Depeche Mode and Nine Inch Nails around that point, and I kind of wanted to make something similar to that. And gradually, as I kept writing it, it just got more and more kind of aggressive and had this more rough industrial tone to it. There's a bridge in it that was inspired by This Is Halloween from Nightmare Before Christmas, because
nice.
I'm a big fan of Danny Elfman. So
who is
after
that?
the
Is that
second
the guy
chorus,
who wrote the score for it?
The dude who writes the music and voices Jack from his singing voice from Nightmare Before Christmas. He was the singer of a band called Oingo Boingo.
Okay, nice.
But so the little bridge that comes after the second chorus is inspired by Nightmare Before Christmas. So as I kept writing it, just more influences just kept coming in. Like the outro of the song is very much inspired by horror scores, which I'm a massive horror movie fan. So
yeah, I kind of get that
that
vibe looking at your social media pictures and things like that.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing that I wanted to incorporate with this as well, was the kind of just because horror movies have been an interest of mine as long as music has been. So being able to incorporate elements of my favorite artists and my favorite horror scores into my music is something I've always wanted to do. But Down the Rabbit Hole is basically a song about self-destruction and addiction for whatever people want to attach it to, really. There's no specific kind of cause of or type of self-destruction that it is about. It's more just for people that are dealing with that. And I kind of wanted to leave it open. Like the chorus talks about themes of like alcoholism in it, but the song is kind of, the lyric drugs don't help is kind of an umbrella term, referring to like anything that is harmful as a kind of drug in that sort of term. So like if you're addicted to coffee and it's like harmful to your life, it could even be about that, really.
Interesting. Well, there's a lot going on there. I do want to hear a little bit more real quick. What's so gripping to you about horror films? Why is that genre so interesting to you?
I honestly, when I was a kid, the first ever horror movie I watched was Wes Craven's Scream when I was around like 7 or 8 years old. So I was really young, and just I always had an interest in just horror movies. And I always used to like beg my mum to let me watch them. And I don't know what it was. I think it was just that it was darker. It was like I was a kid at the time and I wasn't allowed to watch it, so that kind of drew me in. But I feel like I've always just been more interested in horror movies because I like the storytelling. I like a lot of the horror films. Some of them don't take themselves too seriously. And for me personally, it's one of those rare genres where if a horror movie is bad, it's still kind of good in some context. Like, you can just watch it with friends and laugh about it.
Right,
But
right.
I liked the darker themes. I liked that it explored kind of darker areas that other films didn't. And I just liked being scared from like watching a horror movie.
Yeah, the endorphin rush, right?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, let's jump into it. This is an awesome song, one of the best songs I've heard in the last few weeks. It's a song called "Down the Rabbit
Thank
Hole."
you.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I mean that. "Down the Rabbit Hole" by Blankxeros. That was Down the Rabbit Hole by Blankxeros. So yeah, man, what can we expect from you in the future? Like, what does the future hold for you as an artist?
Well, I'm currently working on finishing off the EP that I've been doing for the past 2 years. So that will hopefully be out later in the year. And I'm hoping to put another single out within the next 2 months.
Fantastic. Well, we're very excited for that. I'm excited to see where this journey takes you, man. I think you got a lot of talent and a unique sound for sure. So out there in Victoria, so you're in Victoria, Australia. People might have recognized you have an Australian accent. But are there any other friends or other under the radar artists that you've maybe seen or have played with in the past that you think deserve a shout out, or anyone that's caught your ear recently?
There are two artists that I absolutely love. They're not from my area. They're both located in America, but one of the most interesting artists that I've heard in a long time is this dude who goes by the name King Yosef. He mixes heavy industrial music with kind of rap, and just his music is just one of the most interesting breath of fresh air kind of thing that I've heard in a very long time. And there's another artist called Vincent Void, and he's been an influence of mine for quite a while, but they're both relatively underground.
Cool.
And they're just really both something else.
Sweet.
They really grabbed my attention.
Nice. All right. I can dig that. I'll have to check them out. So going forward, man, where can people find you? How can they stay in touch as you're, working on this EP and putting out new stuff?
I'm pretty active on Twitter, Instagram. I have Spotify, iTunes, so really anywhere music's available. Soundcloud, it's just at Blankxeros, all of them. So whatever anyone regularly uses, I'm fine with.
Awesome. Hey, and by the way, all of our listeners out there, Blankxeros is actually spelled with an X instead of a Z. So you might be thinking blank Z Eros, but it's actually blank X Eros. So just so you know, when you're typing that in, if you're typing in Blankxeros or the number 0, and it doesn't pop up on Instagram and things like that. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for doing what you do, putting out music, and for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.